Hello, folks. This is your dear friends, Daria and Ivy.
Hello.
Of Not So Giant Women. Steven Universe Podcast. Today's lovely Season 1B episode is Secret Team. So I guess I have my usual question for you. Any predictions about this title, Daria?
It's another one where it could just be what it says. Someone forms a team that they don't want others to know about, or it's about something they don't want others to know about. That sort of impetuousness still rests with Steven. So how well he can manage a secret is yet to be seen, if it is him.
Oh, astute observation. Yeah, I almost feel like a troll asking you to interpret these, because either they're very literal or they are inscrutable, you know? So, shall we see what the secrets are all about?
Let's go.
All right.
We are the crystal gems. We'll always save the day.
You know what? Between the four of us, we could have had a free pizza.
Wow.
I was a bit mad, that one.
Oh, I just love this episode.
I'll see if I can cover it.
Good luck.
Stephen and Amethyst, we open on them cannonballing into the puddles in her Amethyst cave. I think the artist must have a lot of fun illustrating her cave. There's all kinds of interesting stuff amongst her piles of crap. But anyway, when he goes for a particularly impressive one, he ends up bobbing through a puddle into Pearl's chamber. And in there, Pearl is examining a rose-coloured bubble with some shards of gems inside. Amethyst realizes that if Pearl is doing secret things with a bubble, that means that Garnet would be mad about it, and it is just the right time to freak out and troll Pearl about this. So they sneak up on her, busted, as Amethyst says. Pearl claims that she's just going to see how the gem shards are reacting to Rose's bubble, and after a bit of how you do back and forth as to whether or anyone should be doing anything, between the three of them they manage to pop the bubble, and the gem shards glow and erupt into a shower of limbs and parts. At this point, we see that gems can indeed hyperventilate as Pearl goes near catatonic with the realization of what's happened. There are going to be mindless bits of gem body, I guess, roaming through the temple, and not only is this bad in itself, but it means Garnet is going to be very mad because apparently you were not supposed to take that bubble, much less burst it and leave its contents scattered and coming to life all through the place. They decide to clean it all up in secret, and Stephen likes the idea of having a kind of secret team as he eventually stumbles upon, and we get a logo for it of a Stephen with a silhouette of Stephen shushing over a secret team logo. Stephen hands them VI pizza cards from Fish Stew Pizza, which become their membership cards to the secret team. And I'll just footnote here that my local pizza joint also calls their membership program VI Pizza. So go figure.
That's so cool.
We then get a montage of them going back and forth through the temple and the rooms and the tunnels and things, capturing and re-gemifying all the shards and limbs and chunks and clearing them up until they re-meet in Pearl's chamber and decide that they have all of them. They're not quite sure, but Amethyst is pretty assured that they have all of them. Pearl is unsure, but what else can they do? Stephen bubbles it because he, having his mother's gem, can make his mother's gems bubbles, and they do in fact manage to subtly replace it, or in the basement as they call it, the bubblarium, where all the bubbled gems have been kept behind Garnet's back, and so far as Pearl is concerned, they will never speak of this again. But Stephen is disappointed that this means the secret team will dissolve because there is no more secret for the team. He is disappointed, gets a fedora from somewhere. Well, let's face it, there's probably a bunch of them in Amethyst's room, and stalks into town in a strangely noir kind of mood, stops off at Fryman's, gets to bits, reminisces about his time in a gang and maybe he can be in one again. He holds a secret meeting in Fish Stew Pizza where he meets still wearing a little fedora, he meets Garnet and tells her what has happened. She says, "Oh, you wish to come clean," and he says he just wants to form another secret team with her. And she asks Pizza Daughter for a VI pizza card to symbolize the form of this new secret team. Back to the temple, and Garnet theatrically throws Amethyst and Stephen down in front of Pearl. Pearl and Amethyst are freaking out, and Garnet says she knows about the shards, and Stephen recites lines that, "Oh no, it was all my doing. Please do not punish me. Stephen, you'll have to be punished. No, not punishment." However, suddenly another huge set of arms erupts from the water around them. Pearl and Amethyst are trying to fight and shapeshift, and they can't defeat these arms, but they're trying to work together again as they did in Secret Team. I should add one of the things Stephen most liked about Secret Team, that Pearl and Amethyst were working together as friends. They're trying to again now accept the huge midnight black arms holding them tight, and Stephen confesses that he just wanted everyone to work together and be friends again, at which point the arms drop the gems and retract, and we see that Garnet has shapeshifted her arms into the water to make all these big new arms pop up at various places to harass them. And she says it should never be about taking her side or Amethyst and Pearl's side or anyone's side, because there are no sides. The crystal gems are all one team. And symbolically, they all tear up and discard their VI pizza cards. Although two of them did that before, so I guess there's a surfeit of VI pizza cards around. And Stephen laments initially the loss of the team, and then looks at the cards and realizes that between the four of them, they had enough for a free pizza. And that's Secret Team.
I had to say, it's one of my favorites from the first season.
I love the mad Secret Team montage. And in fact, I love Stephen's brief noir fantasy, which even Fryman Sr. notes that Stephen is just getting weirder and weirder.
It's so cute, isn't it? I love how he's so excited about being in a team, and he's looking back on it nostalgically. Even though he actually is part of a superhero team in his real life, he's still fictionalizing his life into this other team. It's just so cute.
This gang, and he reminisces as if it were months ago, not probably earlier that afternoon.
Mm-hmm. He's all hard-boiled. He slams those fry bits like it's a stiff drink.
Yes, that I love.
So funny.
And for those playing along, it would appear that the cost of a bag of fry bits is $1 or $1 Beach City dollar, as that's all Stephen has that he buy things with.
Sometimes he doesn't seem to pay for them at all, but I guess the bits could be perceived as extra or junk or something. I don't know.
Oh, maybe actually paying for stuff and slipping weathered bills back and forth was part of his noir fantasy.
Could be. I think there's probably a whole group of Beach City businesses that have all collectively decided to just feed the magical child and make him go away.
Yeah, if you don't give him stuff, he'll explain why you should give him stuff, and it's just not worth it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But I guess he must pay for pizzas if he knows the difference between a free one and a regular one.
That is true. He probably would have to pay for a pizza. I could imagine that Kofi would not let him get away with a lot of stuff. He seems pretty strict.
No. I do like Garnet just addressing Pizza Daughter.
Yeah, that was adorable. I'll take one pizza posse card, she says.
That one's almost funny if you don't know Pizza's their surname, because it's like she's just identifying her by her occupation.
Yeah. I can think of a couple other times that Garnet talks like that. So I think even if their surname was not Pizza, she would have. I was surprised the first time that I saw this that everybody seemed so fearful of her, of Garnet. It seemed a little bit, I mean, we knew she was the leader, but she never really came across as if she was that scary to the others. And in this one, they were definitely acting like they were scared of her.
Yeah, whatever's. And this goes into something else I was wondering, and mention others too. We don't actually find out anything about the bubbled gem shards other than that apparently Rose bubbled them and they shouldn't be taken. And
that is interesting, isn't it? Since Stephen doesn't really care that much about what was going on, he was more preoccupied with Secret Team. We don't get to find out either. Thanks a lot, Stephen.
Yeah, there's those follow-up questions you didn't ask again, Stephen.
That's right. Yeah, that is a really interesting perspective on it because, yeah, it's like everybody there knows that Garnet would be mad if she knew that Pearl was checking it out and playing with it. We don't know why she was doing that. We don't know why Amethyst was so gleefully calling her out on it. But we're all sitting there like we're Steven going, oh, it's bad. We don't know why, but you're in trouble.
Pearls. And it could just be she's panicking. Pearls, I'm just looking to see how the shards react thing. It sounds like she's making it up on the spot.
Yeah, it does.
It sounds legitimate in itself, but possibly, as I said, because she's panicking, it just sounds like I'm just checking, see how they react, as if that's not a legitimate reason for a crystal gem to examine a bubble full of shards. So
right. And then she's just like, and it's none of your business.
Yeah, good point. And obviously she couldn't just say, oh, hey, Garnet, I need to check out the shards in that bubble of roses, so I'm just going to take it and study it for a couple of hours. So obviously it's just not something you do.
It is strange. It seems like she wouldn't have had to sneak around to do it if there wasn't some reason why Garnet would object to it. And that's really not made clear at any point, even in the resolution. We just kind of take away from that they have been fearful of telling her things. They don't think that she would let them do things.
Which suggests that it's, to both Pearl and Garnet, it's something beyond important. Because normally Garnet's wrath is simply to tell people not to do things. So obviously this is far enough removed from that they're actually worried she's going to have one of her angry spells, which we quite believe she's capable of, just quite rarely. So
yeah, we haven't seen her lose it.
It's beyond the pale to take that bubble. It's obviously also important enough for Pearl to risk that and go behind Garnet's back and break a rule to do whatever she was doing, even if it was just seeing how things react to bubbles.
Yeah.
There's also, I was going to say the fridge logic, but the show pretty much illustrates it, that if these are shards of people gems, then they're parts of their bodies and arms and legs and stuff. So it does show that Rose might be really pushing if she's trying to revive just parts of gems. Or
yeah, and it also kind of connects to thinking about an earlier episode with Frybo. They had shards in that one too, but those ones just wanted to possess garments, and these ones became limbs. So what's the difference?
Yeah, I don't recall anything in Frybo suggesting that the gems were anything beyond just little magical bits of rock.
Yeah.
Pearl certainly didn't behave in that episode as if she was carrying a bunch of someone's body parts around.
Right. And, being that when they were freed from the bubble, they just fell on the ground and didn't do anything magical until they were inside something. So that's now the second time we've seen Pearl messing around with shards. What's going on? Pearl, what are you up to?
Has Pearl got some sort of mad science bent, trying to sort of appease Rose's memory all by herself?
That would be interesting, because she did mention in the Monster Buddies episode that, Garnet said that Rose had tried to heal the monsters. So, yeah, it's possible that she has some thoughts on how she could continue that mission.
And Pearl, to say the least, appears to hold Rose in particular high regard.
Oh, why would you say that? I don't know. It's somewhat subtle at this point, I think. But she does,
apparently not subtle enough.
Yeah. Her healing lacrimal essence.
Yeah, that's pretty much what kicked me off.
Was that a good Pearl impression?
That was a very good Pearl impression, actually.
I tried.
Particularly of Pearl getting all hot under the collar.
Yeah, she definitely had a dreamy look on her face while Amethyst was falling apart. So body parts crawling all over the temple. There are a bunch of different colors.
Yep, so these could be bits of half-formed gem, or I suppose half-unformed gem if they've actually been broken into shards.
It really kind of, if you think too much about it, it makes you wonder, what kind of extremely horrible thing were they involved with, that there would be pieces of people.
Yeah, and
what happened to the rest of them?
Well, and that apparently their parts can come to some semblance of life, even if not actual awareness or sapience. They can still form parts. I guess.
Yeah, Amethyst called them mindless gem chunks.
Yeah, that was nice of her to say that out loud for us.
Yeah.
So another on the Will Pearl Ever Shapeshift quest is she encourages Amethyst to do so. She doesn't. Amethyst just says you do it, and Pearl pretty much just says she can't at that point. But it is again telling that she just tells Amethyst to without apparently trying herself until Amethyst brings it up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's also notable that when she tells Amethyst to do it, and Amethyst is like, no, she clearly thinks that that's a reasonable thing to say. She believes that Pearl is capable of doing it, but I can't concentrate.
Yeah, my current resting theory is that Pearl can or should be able to shapeshift, but she's not nearly so readily good at it as the other two, especially not Amethyst.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I do think it's safe to say, even with our limited knowledge of gems so far, that Amethyst has a particular gift for shapeshifting.
Yep. Although I'm glad that they showed us before that Garnet can do that trick with her hands, because otherwise, if this had been the first time we saw her do it, it would have felt like it was out of nowhere. But we've literally seen her do those noodle arms and giant hands before.
Yeah. She's into shapeshifting. But yeah, it fits with what we saw.
Yep. Back in Steven and the Stevens. So although that was really interesting too, because during that scene, she must have done something so that her gems were not visible, because you couldn't see them on the hands.
I guess she could sort of shapeshift a patch of flesh.
That's what she must have done.
Yeah. Or hard light or whatever gem bodies are technically made of, but sort of to tuck the gem into herself.
Yeah, because that would have been a giveaway. I liked how that was set up. It was hard to track the first time through watching it, like who's betraying who. Like where does Steven's participation stop being an act and start being Garnet is just owning everyone. And there's also that cartoon trope where they're like, did we miss one? No, we didn't miss one. And then you figure they must have missed one, because that's set up for, of course they missed one, but apparently they didn't.
Yeah. Or at least it's less of a big deal now, because they don't have to do it behind Garnet's back if there's one still kicking around.
That's right.
Oh, Garnet, here's one we missed a few weeks ago when we were having secret teams. We'll just shove it back in the bubble, or whatever we do.
Yep. Let's just pop this bubble very carefully and rebubble it as fast as we can.
Yeah. Well, they're going back. I assumed Stephen wasn't aware of that Garnet was going to shapeshift her arms and such, because apart from his reaction afterwards, at that point, we stopped having the I am doing acting delivery from Zach.
Yes. Yeah. No, not punishment. Yeah. So, yeah.
Also noticed that in Pearl's room, you can lean on water.
It's true.
But, well, Pearl just likes to make things out of water. Amethyst likes to make things out of junk. And when she shapeshifted this week, she looked kind of like a Barber Papa from those kids' books.
She looked like what?
There were a bunch of children's books, and I've forgotten who did them, but there were a family of shape or blob creatures that could, like modeling clay or Play-Doh, make themselves into various useful shapes. And turning into simple things like balls was a particular favorite of theirs, that their face would just appear on it, and they were like all one color all over, and whatever, they didn't change color or things. It was always just their shape, so you could still tell which was which if you could see them in color. And Amethyst, being a particularly vivid color with her face right there, looked very much like one of those characters. Yay!
I love that scene when she's doing her cannonball. I like the joke. You got to put some more ball in your cannon. Is that going to hurt? Come on, Steven. You'll be all right. That was not an incredibly impressive cannonball from him, but boy, that was some guts, though, climbing up Amethyst's pile of junk and being willing to take a high dive.
Yeah, I was expecting the whole thing to just collapse instantly, but he got up there, and the ironing board is a diving board. As I said, I love the detail that goes into Amethyst's collection. Yeah. They could probably get inspiration for future episodes just looking at their storyboards and back paintings for those, and see, what if this piece of stuff was something in a future episode?
Oh, yeah. We might have to talk about that some more when we see some interesting backgrounds. The background in Amethyst Room is definitely always really cool. It also reminds me of how they draw Greg's storage shed.
Yeah, someone there definitely likes illustrating big rooms full of stuff.
Yeah, and it feels very real. It's not just indistinct shapes. Like you can see there's a singing fish in there. It's very specific junk. And I love that. It's exactly the kind of thing that I'm not good at when it comes to drawing. I'm really bad at backgrounds and getting a sense of place into the picture.
Same.
I really admire that.
Same. Yeah, I knew people that had the real novelty singing fish that one was based on.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, it's so annoying. Because they
of course Amethyst has one.
They had it set so every time you walked through the front door, the electric eye would trigger and Big Mouth Billy Bass would sing that song.
Oh, yeah. Was it different songs or it was always the same song?
Always the same song. And the other thing was this particular one, I don't know if they all do this, like if two people went past the detector in rapid succession, it would figure it needed to sing the song twice in full. So it would count essentially as people went past.
Wow. Huh. I have to be annoying to everyone.
Yeah, and it took us ages. In fact, might have just eventually broken, but we could not persuade them to take it down or turn it off.
Really? Gosh.
They thought it was amazing.
That is so funny. There's certain kinds of people that, it must have been appealing to, because, it sold very well and is widely recognized and distributed. So
yeah, I had a little internal shudder when I saw that the first time. Just remembering trying to avoid walking through rooms in a particular range because it would trigger Billy.
Wow. So you intentionally had to avoid it.
Yeah, like you had to not walk at a particular angle or close enough for the eye to pick up your movement.
That's kind of hilarious. But definitely Amethyst is the kind of person who would have one.
Oh, yeah, she'd have many. I'm sure there are like variations and collector's editions that she has, and probably has a bunch of them positioned around one of her rock pillars.
We haven't exactly gotten to the section of the podcast where we talk about music, but incidentally, the song that it was singing is called Fishin' for Compliments. And the lyrics are something like, it mentions, won't you tell me that I'm pretty, or something like that. Really funny.
I heard that bit through the warble.
It's adorable. Fishin' for Compliments. Yeah, everything else was instrumental, but I don't know if we can really count that as a hit song for the show.
Yeah, I don't know if that's like a hidden track on the soundtrack.
Not as far as I know. I really liked the opening that they were playing in Amethyst's room. With all the junk and everything too, but I liked kind of the camaraderie between Amethyst and Steven. Like, he's hanging out in her room. She doesn't appear to think it's particularly dangerous, or at least whatever's dangerous about it is acceptable. Mm-hmm. And, as long as he doesn't fall into Garnet's room. And she seems to have a healthy respect for that. Like, don't go in that one. Only Garnet is allowed in that. Let's do something less dangerous, like jump off a very high pile of stuff. So, but I really like them hanging out because I get this sibling feeling from them. Yeah,
we've seen it a few times and I like it. And also you get the idea that Steven isn't just spending all his days waiting for gems to return from missions or concocting scenarios for his guys by himself.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to imagine him just playing in one-on-one in the room with either of the other ones. And I can't see it very well. I can't see it for Pearl at all. It would probably be just her being upset that he was there, or if there was some reason why they were there and she was okay with it, she would just want him to be careful and there would be nothing to play with and he would get bored and leave. Garnet could maybe humor him with something, but it depends on what mood she's in.
This is a cup and a ball on a string. Enjoy yourself.
Yes, and I'll just stand there and watch.
When we first saw the rooms, Pearl was very much, no, Steven may not come in, and Amethyst was like, whatevs.
Yeah, I know. You definitely don't get the feeling like she's just tolerating him hanging out with her. You kind of more get the idea that they both have the same idea of what fun is.
Yeah. Hey, Stephen, want to come in my room and jump off crap?
Yeah. And then later we could eat garbage, literal or not. Might have some old burritos around.
Some great freaking out acting and animation from Pearl this time.
You're right. There were some really good pieces of animation from her. Her face is very descriptive. The way her eyes, like she doesn't really have pupils, but like her blue eyeballs would get smaller when she's freaking out, and her chest is going up and down when she's hyperventilating. And there's a lot of sort of physical acting between them too, like when they were fighting, when Pearl and Amethyst were fighting, and Amethyst is biting Pearl's foot.
It's
really cute.
And it's when it's come to me, it's that Pearl loses some of her veneer to try to deal with Amethyst.
You're right. Yeah. She's usually so poised and deliberate with the way that she flows around and, has her very sort of poised gracefulness. But then while she's not exactly in her element, it becomes sort of jerky. It becomes rigid, and she's clearly very scared.
And she probably,
like it.
after one of those scraps of Amethyst, she probably tells herself off later, I let myself get dragged down to her level again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Probably part of the reason that she was reacting so immediately to everything that Amethyst did. It's like sometimes she just won't engage, but other time for this one, she was meeting her barb for barb,
They did nicely position it so all three of them were responsible for the actual bubble popping.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just something that one of them did that the other two are kind of dragged into.
Yeah. Stephen really seems like he really wants them to stop fighting. He's getting sort of more aggressive about like, stop fighting. Must be hard to watch because he respects them both as adults, and then he watches them bickering all the time.
And as he says, he wants people to get along.
Yeah, even if it means they have to sneak around. It's funny how he just immediately ratted them out to Garnet because he wanted to have a secret team.
Yeah, and Garnet even says, did you want to come clean? And he says, no, he just wants another secret team.
Right. That's probably where she decided that she was also going to teach him a lesson.
Yeah, because he kind of learned half a lesson there and veered off.
Mm-hmm.
Which he does.
I really
sometimes.
like that whole scene in the restaurant where he's waiting for her and she arrives. He's set up this whole rendezvous. It's all part of his little act. And she shows up, sits down, and says, "I'm here." Like, oh, really? And he slides the card across the table like a confession. And she's like, "Pizza." I just lose it when she's just like, very seriously, "Pizza." So cute.
The whole start of that scene is her going, I'm going to kind of run with this and see where it goes.
It looked like she was going to drink some of that soda. And I'm not sure if she actually did. But if she did, that's the first time that she ingested something on screen.
She definitely picked it up because I remember thinking a similar thing. Yep. But we were all about the arty camera angles for the noir thing. So.
Yeah, she put it down and it looked like the level went down. But then when we pull back and see the scene again, the levels are back to where they were. Could just be a cartoon thing.
Yeah, well, even in live action, drink levels are notoriously unstable.
Yeah. I've analyzed this because I was trying to figure out Garnet's eating habits, if they exist. So I'm like, did she or did she not drink the soda? It's very important.
Didn't she say during the beach party she wasn't big on eating?
She said that we don't need to eat. And
that's right, yeah.
The food was just sitting on her plate and Pearl's plate. Obviously, Amethyst chowed down, but we're used to that from her.
Yeah. And Pearl likes pie.
You remember that one, huh? I do like pie.
That's partly why, because of how she said it.
Yeah. And earlier in Together Breakfast, they were all agreeing that they should order pizza. So nobody was objecting to it at that point, like they were going to join in.
Maybe pizza is one of her earthly weaknesses.
Well, according to Amethyst, the pizza isn't even good, but it doesn't matter when it comes to Amethyst. Yeah. She was acting like it was no loss when they banned them from the pizza shop.
Oh, this is making me think I need to make pizza for lunch.
Yum. I think it's been a little while since I had a pizza. We should be in the pizza posse.
Pizza party. Find the VIP pizza cards from the local scene.
Yeah.
Oh, footnote to that, though. I found out my brother has been trying to match on-screen foods for Adventure Time for his children.
What? Really?
Yeah.
Wow, bacon pancakes.
That's the one. And I said,
Yeah.
oh, if I was making bacon pancakes, I would have done this. She said, oh, normally I would, except I want to make them screen accurate for this. It's like, now you're reminding me of someone, bro.
Oh, goodness. The kinds of things I have put in my mouth because of this show.
Follow-up questions!
How do you feel about having a probing question?
Yep, let's probe.
Okay, so do you think that Garnet can go in Pearl's room or Amethyst's room without them getting mad at her?
I would think Amethyst would probably not care overly much as long as Garnet didn't fuss off her stuff. Garnet probably wouldn't want to. She probably knows better than that. She probably wouldn't want Pearl in there on her own, but...
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, we've already seen her react negatively to Pearl coming out of her room with a sword.
Doesn't want her filing her shopping trolleys or something.
Oh, yeah. She might clean up the mess, and that would be terrible. But Garnet probably wouldn't mess with anything. I guess it would depend on why she's in there, but so you don't think Amethyst would really mind too much as long as she didn't mess with her stuff.
Yeah, and I also don't see Garnet going in there, just for the hell of it. So
No.
Last time we saw her in there, they were exploring the depth for something and finding months-old burritos. But
yeah. They're on a mission to find out what stinks.
based partly on what we saw this week, Pearl would be slightly scared if Garnet suddenly turned up in her room unbidden. What are you doing here? Yeah. Is there a good reason for it? I haven't done anything. Is there something important and scary happening?
Right. So she would suspect that Garnet's presence there meant something else. It wouldn't just be, oh, she's in my room. It would be, what does it mean that she's in my room?
Yeah, I don't think she'd have a problem with Garnet being in her room as such, especially if there was some mundane and legitimate reason. She might have a bit of a, Garnet's intimidating me by being in my space thing, but
She's just there in the lawn chair.
if she can get over it with Amethyst and Stephen, then probably get over Garnet. So I think she'd be much more wondering, why are you here? Why do you need to see me in here and not out there? Well, I cannot wait until I am out of my room or needs to be in my room for you to address it.
Yeah. Her possessions are not on display the way that Amethyst's are. They're, well, all we've seen is the sword collection, which levitates out of the water and falls back into the water, depending on what she wants it to be doing at that moment. So
No, she is very much for minimalist decorating. So I wouldn't be surprised if she's got other pools with other of her possessions neatly organized within or beneath, however those water structures work.
I guess they're not as perfect as you'd think, though, because sometimes her swords just fall down into Amethyst's room.
Yeah, and well, just this week we saw people falling into Pearl's room, so I do like that the physics don't entirely make sense in there, that you can fall into different rooms from different places, even if that means a room is above itself or something.
Yeah, I mean, from what we've seen of the inside of that temple, it's definitely some kind of non-Euclidean geometry or something, but running upside down and whatnot in Together Breakfast, but it's clear they're continuing that.
Yeah, I guess it's just the sort of thing you get the hang of if you're a Crystal Gem.
Or a member of Secret Team.
Or a member of Secret Team. Yeah. I loved that montage, and the Stephen's struggling for what name they will give a team of secret business and coming up with Secret Team as if it's the cleverest thing ever, and then making sure that no one calls it anything except Secret Team.
I mean, to be fair, he does come from a family where they just call themselves what they are. They name themselves after gemstones.
Yeah.
Oh, you have an amethyst in your chest? You're Amethyst.
Yeah. Probably took a while to convince him that that rock in his navel isn't called a
Stephenite. So, of course, the montage music was called Secret Team with an exclamation mark.
Awesome. The exclamation mark is important.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's just a title of a piece of music. Add that punctuation, and the mood is right there in the title.
Yes. They had a couple of returns of older musical tracks, like, the Pearls theme and the waterfall music and stuff. But I think the other two notable ones were the music that was playing behind his visit to Fryman. That music was called "We Were the Best." We were the best, Fryman. Who was the best? I can't tell. So cute. And the one where he's confessing to Garnet was called Stephen's Confession. They all need their own special, spy movie tracks.
And I know I've said it before, but I like that this show actually has a soundtrack like that.
Yeah.
A lot of cartoons just sort of have a stock supply and they use whichever one best fits the mood. But by the time you get 6 episodes in, you've heard them all.
Yeah. I really like the creativity in the music, and also that they continue to incorporate the personal instruments of each character when they're having them interact. So
yeah, I love that motif, actually, especially when they subvert or play with it a bit, like when they mix it up when someone's about to fuse or otherwise work together.
Yeah. Not sure whether the instrumental track when they're fighting Garnet's hands, whether that had another title. I don't know. So food-wise, there wasn't much for me to do except make fry bits again and eat them like Stephen did.
Yeah, there was the soda, but that's a fairly straightforward one. Just get a fast food style cup and put something brown in it. Actually, I thought it was milkshake, but...
Who knows what it was? It could have been. It kind of sloshed around like it was liquidy. But
art is made to be interpreted.
Yes. I have not tried to make just generic sodas or anything. There's been a couple of beverages that I've made and a couple of things that just nobody belongs making that stuff. And I still tried to make my own version of it, but I'm a little extra sometimes. But I did make a special secret team fry bits for this episode. And that was just partly because of the bag that he drank it out of.
Yeah. So you
an opportunity
slam them down.
Presented. Yeah, it's just so funny. Stephen, what kind of gangster movies have you been watching where people are drinking like that? You feel like you should slam your entire order of fry bits.
Also, I guess you inherited the gem gag reflex, i.e. none.
Oh, what purpose would Amethyst have for needing to gag, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm basing it on. The way she eats, I'm going, okay, this obviously gems don't choke if they eat too fast. And I guess if Stephen can just chug down a bag of fry bits like that, then obviously he's got it from that side.
Yeah, I don't know. Looking at Greg, I'm not sure. Yeah. He looks like he could chow down on some fry bits too.
Yeah, I gotta say, we've said before we're not going to judge Greg, but we can pretty much take as read by now that he at least enjoys food of types.
Oh, sure. I mean, he kept the plate from his, what was that?
Funnel cake.
Yeah. Actually, since we did that episode, I made a funnel cake in honor of Greg. So I wasn't going to, because it was, a lot of times they mention food, but if they don't actually show it, I just exempted myself because I've done enough. But at other times it's just too tempting. I don't really like funnel cake, but making it at home, it was definitely a lot yummier because the oil is not old and it just doesn't taste like, 9 hours worth of other funnel cakes.
Well, in fact, I was watching that one just yesterday and remembering that a funnel cake is not a cake.
Yeah, it's really just batter that's been dropped into a deep fryer, I guess. I made them in a frying pan.
It's very Scottish.
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe Greg's got some Scottish parents. We don't know.
We have not heard any details of his past except for, I guess, in Space Race, he mentioned an aunt and uncle who were the aviators who had that barn. I always have to do a quick mental check to make sure, yes, we have seen that one. It was the last one. It was the previous one we watched. Just hope I don't accidentally just start dumping out stuff from future episodes. Oh, yeah, don't you remember from episode 34? Oh, wait, we're on 29.
I was just thinking just now, that must take doing to literally keep them all in order.
It helps to be as overly ridiculously familiar with them as I am. I don't think that I've messed it up so far. There have been a couple of times where I said, no spoilers, but this is safe to tell you. But
some stuff is sort of just benign trivia, even if we don't know it yet.
Right. Yeah. Well, I hope that I don't accidentally just blurt something out because I think we've seen it, and it's actually 4 seasons in the future.
Yeah, so far, so good. Or at least if you have, then I didn't know what it was, so I didn't notice.
Yeah, so far, I think actually probably season 1 is the hardest to do that with because so many of them just kind of blend into each other. And I watched them, of course, the longest ago. And when I was first binging this show, I saw the entirety of season 1 in about 2 days. So, but...
Yeah, well, in fact, even when I rewatch just the ones we've watched so far, I'm sometimes going, oh, is that one this early? I thought it was much later, or vice versa.
Right, yeah.
When I was ill recently, I sort of went to sleep besides the ones we'd watched so far on a sort of just a run.
I like that you're doing that because then also, some context from older stuff will be easier to incorporate going forward. And I'm obviously just ridiculously familiar with the older ones. So it's nice when I'm talking about a funnel cake plate and you're like, oh yeah, I remember that.
Well, yeah. Well, the other thing is because of their length, it's also easy just to put one on while I'm doing something fairly small, really distracting.
Yeah. It's hard for me to do that and have it as background because it will become foreground very quickly.
When I was ill and went to sleep in front of it, my delirious brain cooked up scenarios of its own, so that was fun.
Oh, wow. You've probably gotten to see some stuff that I haven't seen.
Well, yeah, somewhere in there between dream and hallucination, my subconscious made up an entire final episode of stuff in it.
What? Wow. Are they going to have to hire you for an alternate history version of Steven Universe?
Yeah, well, if they want to borrow my sudden concepts of the Gempress and Ambassador Olivine.
Oh, no. Olivine, would that be your cat?
Yeah, I think she inspired that. I knew there was a kind of gem or rock called Olivine or Olivine. I've only seen it written down.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. A Gempress.
Yeah, in my dream, and I won't bore everyone with my dream too much, but the Gempress was always just off camera and emitting various colored glows. You never saw what she looked like.
Wow. And that was something that you were daydreaming about, or were you imagining that it was real and then realizing, wait, this isn't real?
It was a bit like a fever dream without the fever.
Wow.
So when I was quite ill and that sort of just... what I was hearing must have just sort of bounced off the inside of my brain and started to make its own things from what it's found in there.
That is so neat. You're writing some fan fiction.
Yeah, I guess so. Without actually having to sit down and write it part.
Welcome to the AU.
If only I had known that.
So I have a couple factoids for you.
Yep, let's go. Let's hear about real episodes.
This one's tagline is Steven, Amethyst, and Pearl accidentally pop a bubble gem and form a secret team to secretly retrieve the missing shards.
Yeah, well,
that's 75% of the episode.
Yeah, sometimes there's a trouble with the episode being so short. By the time you finish describing it, it's done.
Yeah. Honestly, I liked the surprise of seeing them coming together to be this group that, they're not necessarily the group that you would expect to see working together. Maybe Steven and Amethyst sneaking around to cover something up, but including Pearl, that's a whole different dynamic.
Yeah, and I don't think I expected what expectations I had. I don't think I expected it to be a sort of team within the main team.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was going to be some kind of separate entity involving maybe one, maybe none of the main 4.
Yeah. I liked how it turned out. Interestingly, this is another episode where they start with a new border, a new story border that they have not used before. So Hillary Florido was one of the borders, and she's been on some of the early ones, but now we also have Katie Mitroff. And so this is her first storyboard credit. Hillary and Katie are a team for a while.
As we went in. I saw that name as we went in.
Yeah, I like Katie's work. So maybe some of the different expressions that you have not been used to seeing might have been from her. But Hillary doesn't do a lot of the boarding up to this point either. She was on, was it Cat Fingers? I think she was on. But yeah, mostly she's a supervisor until this point. Was she a supervisor or a revisionist? I don't know the whole history of what everybody does on the team. It's not all that important for the context of our talking, but Hillary and Katie as a team go forward as one of the main teams from this point. And I gotta say, some of their stuff is my absolute favorite in this season and season 2. So I like this team, this secret team. So other than that, I don't really think I have any other factoids, because the only one that I had, you already said it. You knew what the real fish was. And that was a factoid I had.
Yeah, and there's sort of no big new characters to have surprise voice actors or anything this week. So
that's right. We did see little cameos from the Fry family, but we've seen them all before. So last thing I have, if you want to go there, is my merchandise.
Yep, let's see the goods.
Brand spanking new, mint in box.
I actually have an unofficial piece of merch first, but I'll show you something official in a minute. I'm wearing a Secret Team shirt.
Oh, that's cool.
And it is a fan design, but yeah, it's just the Secret Team logo. If I lean back, you can see it with the Steven fishing face. And even though I usually stick to buying the official merchandise now that it exists, you know, at the time that I bought a bunch of fan shirts, there were no official shirts. So I have a good handful of them. But then I saw this and I'm like, no, I love Secret Team. I got to have one. I got to be in the team.
Yeah.
But the official merch I have is also Secret Team related. And it is a giant body pillow that says Secret Team. Doesn't even fit in the frame. It's official from Cartoon Network. And on the other side, it's two-sided. It has the members of Secret Team. As Amethyst, Pearl, and Steven. And this is really big. I'm trying to back up and see how big it is. I can't even fit it in the frame. So I have some great body pillows for Steven Universe. I think I have, 3 of them.
Is this such a specific thing to exist?
Yeah. You never think, okay, Steven Universe body pillows.
No, okay, what should we put on our Steven Universe body pillows? Oh, a reference to this one episode.
Yeah, it's very specific, isn't it? So I like that. But a really long time ago, in one of my Q&A videos, when I hit 5,000 subscribers on another channel, one of the questions that somebody asked me was if I had a favorite episode of this show. And I named some really good ones. And then I mentioned this one. I was like, this one might be like one of my sleeper favorites, Secret Team, just because I really liked the team dynamics. And I just liked kind of the focus on other characters' perspectives on Garnet, because at this point I had a pretty good character crush on Garnet. Mm-hmm. And seeing the others be terrified of her was very intriguing to me.
Well, it's always something, I suppose, to see how the other characters who live in a world with your favorite character and see them as a person, not just a character, will react to them.
Mm-hmm. We've mostly seen the way that they interact. They clearly respect her as a leader. They defer to her decisions, but really just seeing in her absence that they're afraid she's going to hurt them or something, or that she says, so you two can't get along unless you think I'm going to kill you. She says, oh my goodness, and she seems a little bit disappointed that they feel that way. Yeah. But they have been sneaking around worried about her wrath for an entire episode. And at that point, having not seen all that much of her, I started thinking there must be a side of her that warrants this. Because it's not, you don't get this feeling like, oh, we can't let mom find out. It's more like she's going to kick our asses.
Yeah, so it's back to there's obviously something about messing about with that bubbled collection of shards that is out there. It's not just using her good scissors to cut out a coupon.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's right. Just don't keep your good scissors in Amethyst's room.
They won't be good scissors much longer.
Yeah, she needs to put them in a bubble in her room. Yeah, and to be fair, she really did unload. She just punished them. She made an impression, but then she was just like, "You don't have to do this. You don't have to act like this. We're all on the same team." And Steven, when he was reacting to all those gem limbs crawling all over the temple, he says, we got to get Garnet. And of course they say no, but obviously she probably would have agreed with him at that point. Like, I could have helped you catch these much faster.
Yeah, so Steven actually starts off on the right track and then just becomes obsessed with secret teams.
Right.
There are still episodes where Steven learns the wrong lesson.
Yeah. Yeah. Pearl and Amethyst were they both clearly did not get it. They were like, oh yeah, that thing, secret club. They were clearly playing along with him and in humoring his obsession with wanting this secret team. But, they needed him to feel good about it so that he would keep the secret. And I guess they were right to do that, because as soon as they didn't want to continue the secret team, he went and told her. He went and told Garnet.
Occasionally,
I like also that she didn't have a response, really. She didn't say, like, she wasn't angry about it. She didn't blow up or anything. She just was like, okay, I see.
And what punishment there was really just scaring the bejesus out of them with the arms thing. She didn't, well, I don't know what she could actually do to them, but she didn't ground them or confine them to latrine duty or whatever gems do to each other to punish each other.
Yeah, one wonders, like, if the punishment for Stephen, no, not punishment, like, what would it have been?
And she didn't flag up the actual original transgression either. She didn't sort of go, what? They had that bubble full of parts? That's not right.
You're right. That is true. She had nothing to say about the original crime. So she was mostly just frustrated that they didn't disclose, that they did something essentially worse by sneaking around.
It could even be that if Pearl presented to her, oh, I need to borrow this bubble and do whatever to it, then she'd go, okay, just don't break it, because you put things everywhere. But Pearl obviously assumed she would get a refusal. She didn't want to be caught asking, depending on what she was actually going to do with it, and just sort of amplified her fear.
That's an interesting observation, because Pearl not wanting to come to Garnet to say, I want to do this, and she'd rather do it behind her back and then further cover it up when she screwed up. It really does say a lot about how comfortable she feels coming to her with anything. And, whether that's Pearl being like, if she's being anxious for no good reason, or whether that indicates something about either feeling like she can confide in Garnet or about this specific thing is not clear. But yeah.
That's, again, only knowing what we've seen so far, I wouldn't have thought investigating a bubble per se would be an unforgivable sin. So there's obviously something specific going on either with that bubble or in Pearl's mind about that bubble.
Yeah. It is really interesting that Pearl clearly acted like, oh, I'm guilty and I've been caught. Whereas in Amethyst, as soon as she sees it, she's like, well, what is she doing with the rose quartz bubble?
She doesn't sort of just go, boring, this must be work.
Yeah. She definitely seemed more interested in it because she knew Pearl wasn't supposed to be doing it.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't think whatever the import of the bubble itself was happening in Amethyst's mind. I think it was only how she could troll Pearl about it.
Busted! Well, that's Secret Team. What else? Anything?
Nice. I've covered most of the observations I've noted, or at least the ones I've recalled thus far. We've stuck our nose into food, music, and merchandise and factoids. So, yeah, I think we can round this one out and ask people to tune back in for whatever the next one is. Island Adventure.
Episode 30 coming up next. Thank you for listening, everyone.
Bye, y'all.
You've been listening to Ivy and Daria on Not So Giant Women.
You can find episodes of the show in video form by looking up Not So Giant Women on YouTube,
or in audio form at anchor.fm/Not So Giant Women, or your podcatcher of choice. You can also find us on Facebook.
Audio production by Daria.
Video production and music by Ivy.
Daria can also be heard on Podsploitation, the Ozploitation podcast,
and Ivy at her Steven Universe fan blog at love-takes-work.tumblr.com.
Steven Universe was created by Rebecca Sugar and remains property of Cartoon Network.
No infringement is intended. Secret Team. Dun 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 dun.